Eddie, a lot of people voted because their life's too damn expensive. And it was here and it was
They voted for, you're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted felon, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot
They
of people,
voted for this
listen,
guy.
I'm not defending it. But I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying, life's not fair, I'm not doing well, my son's still living in the basement, I can't seem to get a job, I don't like the status quo, I'm voting for something else, and he was
I
the person.
love you to life,
I love you,
but I do not believe that. I cannot believe that.
I'll take because they're living in a cult for 500, Bob.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Congratulations, media, you all became that meme. Well done indeed. I know I say the word insane a fair bit, but ever since the return of the great mammoth mango, the more I gleefully glance at the mental breakdown of a class of propagandists who for some reason continue to call themselves the media, the more I'm convinced that really is the only word to describe them, as they all scramble like drunken chickens to make sense of why a candidate that had all the life and warmth of a crash test dummy didn't ascend to the highest seat in the land. Oh, and speaking of The Simpsons, my reaction can be best summed up thusly. But before I go any further, yes, we've hit 50k subs. Woo! And so to celebrate, for all of you new people who don't know, I have merch, and they're doing 35% off for the next day and a half. And that includes for you folks in Europe as well, because someone messaged me a while back and said the shipping price is outrageous. But when I checked yesterday, it ships from England, and the price was only €6. So yeah, there you go. I have some Art Deco ones with the Wisdom of the Wang slogan, a Viking-inspired one with the I apologize for nothing catchphrase, which I definitely did not steal from Hedonism but from Futurama, and the Spoon Platoon badge sitting on the Prussian Iron Cross, which was a headache to find a maker for because apparently military symbols are controversial. Idiots. But anyway, there you go. Link is down below. Knock yourselves out. Oh, and speaking of people who deserve to get oh, come on, I can't even turn a phrase. This is ridiculous. No wonder Trump was re-elected. Now, with all of that out of the way, let us take a gander at some of the mainstream media's reaction. So pickaxes at the ready, chaps. We are off to the salt mines.
I want to invite you on here to be quick. Take your time. Got 3 hours. I mean, I just...
Notice that the current makeup of this panel itself is an indication of why the left will continue to fail. No, do go on.
This whole yes, that is it. It's not about, oh, how can we... I've been very dismayed, actually, by this whole working class voter conversation, because are black people not working class?
Okay.
Well, some of them are. And as usual, the black woman has to inject race because without it, she has no place in this conversation and would thus cease to be employed. Hey America, how's that whole melting pot thing coming along?
Like, if you really want to boil it down, if it was really about the issues, if it was really about the message, how did the message break through to black working class people and it didn't break through to the majority of anybody else?
You know, when I first watched this, I assumed she meant Trump's message because he's the one who actually won. Now I'm thinking she meant Harris, which doesn't make any sense. Is she honestly stupid enough to think Harris resonated with black working class people because of class and not race? Because if you genuinely believe that, I don't even have a comeback for that. I'm legit lost for words level of astonished.
And I see y'all white women and Hispanic voters out there that are in my inbox right now saying, but we voted for her. Yes, but let me explain this how this works, okay? As a black woman in America...
Yeah, the moment I hear those words in a sentence, I immediately tune out. Given that your party just got one buffled into orbit, you might want to consider that the overwhelming majority of that demographic are not objectively intelligent people and are just drawn like loyalists based on nothing more than sloganeering. As a consequence, that uppity attitude of yours is backed by nothing but smoke and mirrors you are not worth listening to at all.
If something happens and somebody does something, you know, then it's like, I understand I didn't do it, but we got to address the things for everybody else. So this is the box that we're in. I understand there are white women out here that voted for Kamala Harris, but baby, 52% of y'all voted for Donald Trump, and this was not the first time. So now, for the third time, so y'all got to come together and address it internally.
Address it internally? Oh, what a great suggestion. Collective sex and race guilt. That should go over well. The astonishing level of entitled arrogance from these cretins. Who the hell do you think you are? Considering the majority of white women voted for Trump, we can earnestly say they're objectively better than you. Notice at the beginning, she started off with the class issue, then injected race, then claimed it didn't permeate the majority of any other group, maybe because she was a terrible candidate whose entire reason for being there had nothing at all to do with policy in the first place, and then assumes white women are a damn hive mind, and yet also pointed out that over half of them did not vote for another woman, which means they voted for likely pocketbook issues, which are class-based, which proves, once again, your candidate and/or their message sucked ass. My word, if this is the apex analysis we can get from these dim-witted class of mouth breathers, it's no wonder they lost more than half their primetime audience.
Particularly the media ecosystem it's not a good one, it's a negative one, it's a radicalization funnel.
Considering your side is filled with sycophantic corporate sluts, the notion that you'd call the sphere of anyone that opposes you radical screams wacky harder than that pencil troll hairstyle you're sporting, pal.
But what they have done in their online media ecosystem is build a radicalization engine, literally the way militant groups do around the world, that takes people from relatively low-level annoyances with the world. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is my kid learning this new thing in American history in school that I didn't learn? And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way, slowly, to a full-blown fascist politics.
Oh, would you look at that? Another pompous overpaid gimp who dismisses table concerns as simply that of a radical fascist. The irony of you calling everybody else that, when what the regular curious person complains about is the incompetence and/or malicious management of the state, after they go and listen to people not connected to the state. And this somehow makes them desire authoritarianism, even as what they want more often than not is less government. You know, you might want to pause and recognize your entire network's pitch as watch us or else we'll call you fascistic. My word, I can't imagine why the Dems keep eating broken ass.
Not only is Twitter not a real place, but it's become a toxic cesspool filled with nothing, not about right, it's not about conservative, it's just filled with misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories, so...
Oh, conspiracy theories, is it? This coming from the twat who works for MSNBC, very much known for its connection to reality. Speaking of which, what did he say prior to the election on MSNBC?
There are voters he'll never get. There are places he'll never be competitive. And there's so many of them now that there's no world in which Donald Trump could, no imaginable world in which Donald Trump could ever win a popular majority in America.
Oh, that aged wonderfully, didn't it? I could do this all day. At least on Bill Maher, he has to feign not being a total hack job. Oh, and speaking of Bill Maher.
My message to the losers, look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry.
Bill Maher before the election.
First of all, I'm not going to worry about it, Phil, because he's not going to win. She's definitely going to win the popular vote, as Democrats almost always do now.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Oh, man, look at that final map. Ouch. I love the way it says, this isn't a popularity contest, trademark. Not a close one anyway, no. So maybe look in the mirror, Ma, that loser is you.
And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign.
You know what? I'm gonna try and steelman this, if only to make her look even stupider than that one single sentence already does. Let's say, for argument's sake, that's true. You still lost the House, and the Senate, and the presidency, and the popular vote. If the campaign was run flawlessly and that was the end result, my word, that is a lighthouse level of Bloom signaling your candidate's floor count was higher than Chris Christie's caloric intake.
Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift, she had the Swifties, she had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
And so what? Oh, she got a litany of celebrity endorsements, which amounted to nothing. You have to be on a seriously brain-damaged dose of coke to praise a campaign that raised over $1 billion and spent $900 million by October and allegedly ended it with $20 million in debt. Man, I dread to think what morons they put in charge of the economy, my word. Then again, these are apparently the people who ran her campaign. I actually hope this was a troll and not true because, man, it's almost too mimetic. Raised over $1 billion and ends in debt. That was not a presidential campaign, people. That was a money laundering gig disguised as a presidential campaign. Allegedly. But of course, no mainstream stupid would be quite complete without The View.
And finally, we talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Knock, knock. Who's there?
You know it's bad when even the supposedly conservative lass on there trying to talk sense is thinking, I sold my soul for this. Sexism and misogyny. Yeah, in this context, that's the same thing, you twat. And Alyssa, honey, let me give you some anti-aging advice here. Try and buy that soul of yours back and stay off The View. Because being around and participating in a constantly spewing stream of lies and hyperbolic bollocks is aging you rapidly. Then again, so does LARPing as a conservative, who then votes for Kamala Harris. I went to look up her name. My jaw dropped when I saw her age. She was born in '89. She's 7 months older than I am. Selling your soul to live long only works if you produce good music, apparently. As long as you don't choke on your own vomit. Well done to you if you get that reference, by the way. But that's enough mainstream cope. Let's look at some other avenues. Because while mainstream media points a finger at each other, another wanker is going to blame you.
We really need to be honest about what happened.
I don't think you're capable of actually being honest without spontaneously catching fire.
A lot of the United States of America likes what Trump is selling.
And I'll bet you're not going to ask why and simply chastise them for what they wish to buy.
It's not that they were confused. Some of them were. I will get to that.
Case in point.
But they like what Trump is selling. They love transphobia.
It's a mystery why he's hemorrhaging subs, isn't it? Also, to love something driven by fear makes no sense. And it's not fear, it's disgust.
Despite it being statistically a non-issue.
Yeah, try telling that to female boxing Olympians and see how they feel about that statement, you misogynistic asshole.
The idea of a mass deportation of disproportionately brown people that they've been convinced have or will wrong them at some point in the future.
The fact that they are in the country in and of itself is the wrong.
There is a preference for a convicted felon, billionaire, wannabe fascist.
Now you see this? This is why you lost. If you are daft enough to disagree that men and women physically competing against each other is patently unfair to the latter, if you describe upholding the very concept of legal citizenry and therefore a basic function of the nation state as fascistic, you're stupid and insane. End of conversation. Anyone who concurs with this sentiment has suffered some kind of indoctrinated lobotomy. If only there was a phrase to accurately describe this kind of derangement syndrome.
He had a Nazi-style hate rally at Madison Square Garden a week and a half ago.
This man has over 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube. If that doesn't make you reflect and recognize democracy as cringe and gay, I don't know what will. But enough of the cope. Do furnish us with an analysis of what you think went wrong.
Number one, millions of Americans, quite literally, have no idea what's going on.
Calling the voting public clueless, bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And I know that it's sort of like, oh, David, are you doing the Republicans are stupid thing again? Listen, there's plenty of uninformed Democrats. There's uninformed independents.
But because I'm a partisan pile of wank, I'm only going to insult Republicans and not anybody else.
But there is a degree to which millions of these Trump voters have literally no idea what's going on. At a recent rally, a bunch of young white men, Trump voters, were asked, why are you voting for Trump? And they said, because gas prices are so high. The truth is that gas prices are at their lowest post-pandemic point, tied with a bunch of post-pandemic lows. That is just the truth. So saying I'm voting for Trump because of high gas prices when gas prices are low, you are simply clueless.
See, Pac-Man, this smarmy, condescending attitude is why so many people fucking hate your guts. This is why I said you couldn't tell the truth without spontaneously combusting, because your entire damn show is built on lying by omission. Oh, the petrol price is lower. Compared to what? And when? Oh, it's lower than it was 2 years ago. Oh, fucking brilliant. Is it still higher than it was under Trump? Yes, that's why they voted for Trump then, you dumbass. That is not rocket science, that's basic math. Same thing applies to inflation. Perhaps if you were a bit more thorough and honest in your analysis, instead of tongue in the DNC's balls, you might have a reputation beyond being a patronizing asshole. Again, shocker at why you progressives are bleeding subscribers. So let's check out another pompous git that analyzes with his head up his ass.
With this map, this is probably the one I lean most towards, okay? You have Kamala wins Nevada, Kamala wins Arizona, Kamala wins Georgia, Kamala wins North Carolina, Kamala wins Pennsylvania and the blue wall states. So this is basically Kamala winning like all of the swing states. The reason why this one I feel like is my potentially most accurate map is because I do think...
No, the only thinking you do is of the wishful variety. That map is very much evidence you are either greased well enough to act hopeful to the point of drug-induced delusion, or perhaps an indication the hair dye seeped into your brain. As a matter of fact, your obliviousness to political reality is a symptom of a much larger problem that I will get to at the end of this video. But anyone who thinks this crap, and I use the word think extremely loosely obviously, shouldn't be involved in politics in any capacity. You're a clown show. Even in his best case scenario for Trump, he was still losing. What acid-wash perception of reality do you live in, dude? In fact, let's take a look at the post-result video, shall we?
I don't think she ran a particularly bad campaign. I think her campaign was way better than Hillary 2016. I think Trump's campaign was way worse than Trump 2016.
Man, as if we needed any more evidence this Walmart level in sync wannabe is insane. But it's nice to have some additional evidence now, isn't it? Again, what world do you live in? Hillary was the overwhelming favorite in 2016. Polls had a way up and the bets were on her. That's the whole reason why Trump winning in 2016 was such a shock in the friggin' first place, and why they were running around like headless chickens wondering how the hell did the polling get it so wrong. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, did not go into the general election with the polling lead. The betting markets were massively in Trump's favor, and so were the financial ones, forecasting an incoming Trump administration. Let's see if I understand this opinion correctly. Trump ran a better campaign in 2016 against someone who ran a worse Democratic campaign, and Trump performed worse. But in 2024, Trump ran a worse campaign against a better Democratic campaign, and yet he performed significantly better. Who the hell takes this moron seriously? By what fucking metrics does any of that analysis even make any sense?
But then I do think the Democrats have sort of a stylistic problem in today's day and age. Democrats like running polished and professional politicians. And this is not the era of polished professional politicians. It's just not. That era died after Barack Obama. This is the era of the raw and unfiltered and authentic feeling politician. There was also an overarching problem, which is Republicans have a narrative. I hate their narrative, but they have a narrative, and they connect their policies to that narrative. I hate their policies. I think Americans should hate their policies, but their narrative is immigrants are the problem. They're the reason your life sucks. Elite liberals and Hollywood, they're the problem. They're the reason your life sucks. Minorities are the problems. Blame them.
Yeah, the reason why that resonates is because that's reality. The reason why you can't do this is because progressivism is fueled by running away from reality. I'll explain the depth of that in just a few moments. But one last one from some gimp who's going to sim for some alternative media, as he frequently appears on MSNBC.
I also think that more broadly there are a lot of massive structural disadvantages that Democrats are contending with right now that in retrospect made winning this election very difficult.
Yeah, you idiots ran against someone objectively better than you in every single way, as you threw data in everyone's faces, told them to eat shit you just can't read, and called them fascists. Turns out that wasn't a great strategy.
Who'd have thought? First and foremost, something that I've been beating the drum about for years now, the right has a propaganda machine at its disposal that hums on for 24 hours a day.
Anybody else noticing a bit of a theme here? I'll get back to that in a few moments.
All the while, Democrats continue, for some fucking reason unbeknownst to me, to pretend that mainstream media is some partner in democracy, that they're on our team. I don't know how much clearer I can say this. They are not on our team. Corporate media exists to serve its shareholders. It is a business before it's anything else, certainly before it's some protector of democracy. And yet still, our side has decided that when there's a big interview, go to mainstream media. When there's news, give it to mainstream media. Let's keep validating the same outlets that continuously undermine us at every single turn. Sometimes I have to beg politicians for interviews for my channel for months and months and months and months and still don't even hear back. And yet they'll fall over themselves to go talk to the New York Times. The same outlet that ran, 60 cover stories about Hillary's emails? That's who they need to confer more validation onto? That's who they need to reward with their time, with eyeballs? We desperately need a left-wing media ecosystem that rivals what they have on the right.
No, you don't. It won't work, and I'll tell you why. Consider this a diagnosis from someone who actually deserves to be a condescending asshole, because unlike these pillocks, I'm not the one with an IQ getting skull-fucked by an ideology hell-bent on speed-running off a cliff. And by the way, all of these clips can be boiled down to three things. We're pissed that we no longer control and monopolize thought. Everyone who disagrees with us is mis or disinformed, conveniently, and therefore an idiot, unlikely to face social alienation for their wrong think. Now, having said all of that, the closest anyone here got to saying something sensible was bizarrely Backstreet Boy Dropout over there. The Republicans have narrative, and they do tie their policies to the narrative. And again, the reason why this works is because it's true. Where he's wrong, though, is saying the Democrats don't stand for anything. They do. Displacement of ethnic Europeans, gender abolition, and the unabated removal of all sexual bounds. And for no functional reason either. There is zero conversation anywhere in the mainstream media about why any of that is objectively good for any civilization. I wonder why. This is why everything to the left of Evler decays into cancer, because it all runs on emotion. Anyone who adheres to this rubbish with cult-like zealotry is one largely absolved of the burdens of money. Well, that or they're crazy, either one works. The reason why the left and the Democrats appear to be hollow and out of ideas is because their ideas have hit reality. Because again, progressivism is a cult. And these are the geniuses who think they're entitled to lecture you. Absolute plebs. Chris Rock said this many a year ago. Americans worship money. Money is the nexus point of the American way of life, and everything flows from it. The technocrats are a boring class of lifeless rejects whose entire vision is based on spreadsheets and nothing else. These are the kinds of drones, if you send them to a Trump rally, wouldn't be able to locate a pulse if their lives depended on it. And then there's you, the impotent cast of plastic wax who sit in the echo chambers, the magnet actors who exist to shape public opinion, behuffing their own arse vapors and whinging about irrelevant fringe social issues all damn day long. In between uncontrollable cries of fascism, of course, and what does any of that even mean? What is their alternative to that? Oh, bugger all, because it's no more than a means to shame. It has jack shit substance behind it. These people really are nothing but incredibly boring, disconnected elites, sauntering up to a normal person who's going, man, the economy is in shambles, only to respond with, oh, no, you simpleton, let me explain to you how wrong you are. For you see, the economy is doing better than ever, and we have lower inflation and unemployment. Now shut up and listen to me lecture you about your trans issues, you bigot. Democrats have failed to understand the following. No amount of bullshit data spinning is going to erase the reality that when regular people look at their wallet, they will notice it's thinner and their dollar's purchasing power is holier than your fucking head. Couple all of that with a guy standing right over there who's telling them, do you remember when I ran the economy, you didn't have any of these problems? Wouldn't you prefer going back to that? Also, if you re-elect me, it will drive that class of condescending pricks who are snubbing their noses at you right now absolutely insane. See you on election day. And the Democrats have nothing to counter that. You can't look at them and go, what about Trump's government is objectively bad that you oppose? No one hurts your vagina or irks your political proclivities. No. What is objectively bad for the nation's state? And the answer is, they'll have nothing. This is why the right-wing threat will always exist, because right-wing ideas are based in reality. They're timeless. If you read right-wing ideas, they're always applicable. Left-wing ideas can only exist in vacuums. And this is why they can't tie their narrative to policies the same way that Trump does, because what you see with him is what you get. He will straight up tell you what he wants to do. From energy, to taxes, to education, to deportations. Democrats, on the other hand, are just, oh, well, free abortions under the rainbows, borders are fascistic, and we shall be powered by worshipping the sun. Virtually nothing they did whilst in office they ran on in 2020. Why do you think they ran away from what they did whilst in office and gave no reason why they should retain the Oval Office, other than Orange Man bad? Are you starting to see the failing strategy now? See, this is the reason why left-wingers are bleeding subs, because reality has pierced their echo chambers. Like a jet plane with doors ripped open mid-flight, and now they're all scrambling, fighting each other, trying not to die off. It's rather funny, actually. As far as this need for alternative progressive media platforms, give me a frickin' break. The only difference between mainstream media and the so-called alternative progressive media is the amount of money in the studio setting, and that's it. It's entirely aesthetic. Think about this. Can you name any policy any left-wing advocates for that does not involve increasing the size and power of the state? No, because they're all for that. The only difference is what they want the state power for, and there is no conversation whatsoever about why their worldview is utterly utopian and they're all thick. They're all selling the same product. The only difference is the brand. All these idiots are arguing over, ultimately, is how best to recover from a thorough drumming so that they can continue subsisting as parasites selling snake oil.
Everyone from Charlie Kirk to Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, a streamer named Asmongold, are now gleefully taking pleasure in the short period of time during which we in progressive media lost some subscribers after Donald Trump's win last week. They smell blood in the water and they want to end progressive media.
100%. Absolutely. And shout out to Hard Bastard. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.